Yesterday, my incredible wife Megan decided to film a garden tour of her own. And editing that video, I couldn't really help but notice one big flaw. This garden is a mess, so let's go fix that. All right, well, no garden is complete without a fence gate, obviously, so let's start here. I'm no fancy carpenter, but I'm pretty sure I should not be able to do that. Also, it's very loose. Not gonna do anything too fancy. There we go. I've re-secured this board, and that's gonna be underneath so it doesn't show. And for a more stout screw that goes into the thing there, I've got Gorilla wood filler and my trusty spork. So all I'm gonna do now is just start filling this hole in a little bit with some wood putty. I'm going to let this dry for just a little bit, and then I'm going to set my screw in there, and I am hoping that this will just hold a little bit better. Alright, while my gate dries, let's take a quick survey of the land. Now, it is definitely a mess. Plenty of stuff to do, stuff on the ground, stuff that needs to get harvested, stuff that needs to get pruned. We're gonna start by harvesting out anything that needs harvesting and then go from there. Garden tends to get like this as this summer heat sets in because it's just too hot to be outside all the time. And so I end up doing a lot of things very quickly, maybe not cleaning up as well as I should. But nevertheless, the garden continues to pump out new produce and things continue to break down. It's this chair that I'm probably gonna have to trash. So first off, I've got this little eggplant, and I don't think this is quite ready. So let's knock off that. But I do see a big cucumber that I missed in this bed over here. Alright, so let's start by harvesting. Let's take a little stroll down Cucumber Alley here. I see that one of my quick snack cucumbers has been missed and is, as Lizzo would say, it's not a snack, it's a whole damn meal. That might look like a regular sized cucumber, but this plant is only supposed to be producing those little tiny cocktail cucumbers. So we'll see if that still tastes good. I don't see anything else on this plant. I will go ahead and give it its next little string up, trying not to knock off any of the delicate flowers or new fruits. But I just want it to continue climbing up the string. This cucumber's got nothing. Nothing on this one. But I do see that I've got a runner here. I'll just prune that right off. The best practice with cucumbers is to... Why do I talk so slowly? Oh my god. Best practice with cucumbers is to remove all the leaves that are underneath your lowest growing cucumber at the moment. So on this one, y'all have no idea how much time I spend editing out the little pauses in my speech pattern. The generally accepted best practice for cucumbers is to snip off all of the growth that is underneath your lowest growing cucumber. And this just helps the plant know to put the energy where you want it. And I have not been doing that as well this year as I did last year. And last year I had more cucumbers than I could possibly count, and this year they've been a little bit low on them. So I am going to follow that advice now. If anything backfires on me, I will make sure to put that in the video in the future. But this is what I did last year, and it worked a treat. So I'm going to do the same thing this year and snip off everything basically below my lowest growing flowers. We will see if that will convince this plant to put out some more fruit. My beans here have also reached, you see those? Perhaps not. These are pole beans. These are pole beans, and they have reached the top of their bamboo stakes, and in some cases are starting to lean. And I don't want them to fall over, so I'm gonna need to address that. What I did last year was I had a whole network of this shoestring available to me. I've got this nice thin string that I pretty much use to trellis everything, and it came from my wife's grandfather, who I believe was a cobbler. But anyway, I got these big huge spools of string, and using those I'm gonna create a bit of a overhanging trellis kind of network here that these beans can grab onto. My intended design is basically to have plants growing towards the top, especially the ones that can handle a little bit more heat, and shading the ground so it conserves a little bit of water and protects the root systems from the intense heat and drought of the summer. This here is not a cucumber, but I am trellising it like one. I believe this is either a honeydew or a cantaloupe, and I apologize because I can't remember, but I guess I'm going to find out. So I'm going to go ahead and do kind of a hybrid technique here, because usually I would let these just trail along the ground, but I had some pest damage last year, so instead I'm going to pull off the side shoots. I'm kneeling on a rose bush, that's not nice. I'm going to leave the fruit, but I'm going to prune off the side shoots so that they don't just add a ton of weight, because I want this to go all the way up and kind of hang. Now here's my trombochino squash, one of them at least. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Remove the growth that I do not want carefully, because I did accidentally cut this whole plant in half a couple months ago, thinking that I was going after a side shoot. Remove anything that is dead and dying. Leave anything that is flowering and that it's growing where I want it to. Because the real prize here is this. This is where I want a lot of the energy going for this plant, is into continuing to grow on top of what's going to be my garden canopy. There's another trombochino squash. I'm going to do the same thing. Trombochino squash is vine borer resistant, but it is not completely vine borer proof. For example, it's gross. Get a shot of this guy. You see him in there? That little white thing with the black dots, that is the larva of a squash vine borer. And what they do is they bore in, like the name implies, and then they climb all the way down the hollow stem to the roots and just start munching until your plant is no more. So it's best to remove them when you can, or at least kill them. Scoop them out. There he is. The heartache of so many gardeners, especially around here. This one little bug can kill an entire squash plant. But the reason the Tromboncino squash does a little bit better with them, even though it is still infested with them, I will say. I'm just going to give him a little snip so that he does not crawl back into my plant. But the reason that even this infested plant is still producing and doing okay is because the vines are not quite so hollow. And they honestly seem to be doing okay, even though I've got some weird formation here. Look, this vine has basically split open, but it's still feeding everything that's above it. So until it dies, I'm gonna keep letting it go. But I see damage from borers on pretty much every old leaf stem here. And honestly, I mean, I could make it a full-time job to just come out here and kill the borers that are in the plant. But so far, they have not managed to kill any of the Tromboncino squash outright. They just bore in, and then they seem to just kind of sit. They usually seem to sit close to where they entered the plant. You can see the hollow leaf structure. So most squash plants, I guess I should say pretty much all squash plants have hollow vines as well. But anyway, even this raggedy looking vine here is supporting some pretty good growth. So I am going to go ahead and harvest this Tromboncino squash. That was a good one. I need a bigger bucket. Okay. So I will say, last year I attempted a lot of different types of squash, and none of them could survive these borers. And I even tried injecting BT into the stems and, performing surgery to try to get them out. I just couldn't do it. So that's why I'm growing the Tromboncino squash this year, and it's been doing well for me so far. This has lasted way longer than any of the other types of squash that I've grown. And even though it definitely still attracts them and has them, the plant just seems to keep growing in spite of all of it. And I think my best method here is basically to just go in there and give them a bit of a stab and try to kill the ones that I know are there, and let the plant just kind of deal with the ones that I can't find. So that's the Tromboncino squash. Lest you think that all of the Tromboncino squashes have fared so well, here is one that I am going to give up on. It did give me several squashes in the last couple months, but it is not doing well. My wire is biting into it, and it had a really bad infestation that it just never really recovered from. So I'm going to take that out now. As I suspected, it's barely hanging on. That was all of the live tissue that was supporting that plant. Whew, it's hot. Alright, don't see any tomatoes here that are ready, but got some beauties on the way. Mostly San Marzanos. Let's see, is there anything else that needs to get harvested? Oh, yes. Okay. Let's see how many of these sun gold tomatoes we get. I get new ripe sun golds just about every day. So let's see how many we have today. I definitely need to clean these plants up. Okay, let's take a look down here. So I have the last of the alliums in bed. And you may be wondering, why do you have alliums? And I am saying I don't know why I still have alliums, but what I have here is one green onion that is fully gone to seed and a bunch of leeks. And I have never even eaten a leek before. I was just trying them out this year. So I'm gonna harvest out what was the leeks and see if there's anything edible. Maybe make a single bowl of potato leek soup. Who knows? Let's see what we got. Got nice, generous white stalks, so I guess that's good. I do know that you want the white part to be nice and long, which it appears it is, but they're very thin. And I think that is mostly user error. But they look edible, they smell good. These are King Richard leeks. They've just kind of been here growing in the background. I haven't really done anything for them other than just stick them in the ground. I did make a point to bury them quite deep. Oh. I mean, we're gonna see how I like cooking and eating them, but I'm not mad at that. They're leeks, and I mean, this isn't so much of a harvest as it is just a removal, but I think it's time for this lone green onion to go. I'm still making green onions, so I guess I could. I don't know. Put in the comments what you think I should do with this green onion. Alright, we're down several weeks and one green onion. And now, plant itself on these sun gold in particular. I'll remove any of the growth I don't like. Whatever, we're just gonna have to roll with it. I am letting this grow, even though it is a side shoot. I've started to let some of them grow from the bottom, just because this has already produced its fruit and is all the way up at the top here. So I want this to keep producing. I feel like it needs some new material to work with, so I'm going to let these side shoots grow and basically just become the new leader as the other ones get too tall. We'll get the long densities instead. Alright, I'm back to the new section. Just removing any of these diseased. My backyard garden is this grass. See, it honestly might be time to just do a reset on some of these tomatoes that have grown 8 feet tall, 7 feet tall, 6 feet tall. It's either that or you let them grow from lower. You know, we can send something out. I do think this will be my last year growing a Cherokee tomato. They just come up. My wishes were last year. beautiful plant that's grown this tall and given me one tomato. So it's not a very good return on investment there. Compared to like a San Marzano or a Roma style that just produces here. Yeah, I'm not impressed with the performance of the Cherokee Purple here in my area, in my soil. I know other people love that tomato. I don't know why. I give it another shot, but I don't know. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. Give me all your best Cherokee Purple tips in the comments. But otherwise, I think I will be passing on them in the future. Again, this must be a Cherokee Purple because I don't think I've gotten a single fruit off of this tomato all year long, despite its height and relative health. They say to cut all the leaves below your lowest ripening fruit, but when there's no fruit, here's another example of a sun gold, which has been very successful, and it is. I'm convinced that it's going to reach the canopy over here and then just sprawl out, and I kind of want to see what happens. So I'm just letting it go. I'm just going to see if I can get that over to there. Pretty soon I'm going to tie it to this canvas and make like a little arch structure from it that I can walk under, because I love that. Living arches in the garden is like my favorite thing. So otherwise this plant is healthy. Trusses and trusses of sun gold tomatoes. And just this morning, my daughter discovered that she likes to eat them. So definitely, the sun gold tomato will remain a staple in my garden, as I'm sure it is with many of you who grow tomatoes and know it's a beloved tomato. Now, y'all, give me your grape tips. Do I just have a bad variety of grape? What is going on here? Because this happened to me last year too. I kind of got this kind of diseased look. I'm assuming it's a disease. And I mean, it's producing grapes. I think my wife mentioned that these grapes are gonna be edible. I seriously doubt that at this point. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought this plant was dead, and then I started cutting it back and realized that it was still green on the inside. And then a couple weeks later, it put out some growth. So it did survive the winter, but it is not looking hot at all. So if you've got some grape tips, I would love to hear them. Now, when I designed the garden, designed is a loose term, this bed of corn here I thought was going to be a little bit more in the middle. I thought I would have a pathway here and a pathway there. Turns out I really only have a pathway here, and for my daughter and sometimes wife, the pathway is just straight through the corn. So this corn has been trampled many times because it is in a bad location, and I will cop to that. This is a bad location, so whatever. Next year I want to do a better job of tying up tomatoes. I did my best this year with this kind of Florida weave structure, but I think what would have made this better is if I had put the top string in right at the beginning and dropped it down onto the tomatoes. That way they had something to climb up. But as it is, it's just kind of hanging in between the strings. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't think the plant really minds, but it would have grown a little bit neater, I think, had I been able to pull it up hot. You may have already written a comment about what I should be doing for these tomatoes along the lines of, well, have you fertilized them? And the answer is yes, I have fertilized them. I do think I'm going to switch to like a boom booster type thing for the remainder of the season. But they've had a steady diet of fertilizer. It's kind of an all-purpose thing. There's so many specialized fertilizer for pretty much anything, but especially seemingly for tomatoes. And yeah, I'm not even gonna pretend to know what to do with this grape right now. If there is any saving them. Let's grab some of these peppers. Now, it's like 100 degrees out here and also extremely bright. So it is difficult to know sometimes exactly what I am filming on my camera. So if there are some really wonky shots in here, I apologize. Just bear with me. Oh man. It's been a couple hours, so I'm gonna try to get this screw back in here and see if I like the results or if I want to do something else. Let's see. Definitely much tighter than it was. I think this is gonna work. All right, all screwed on, solid as a rock. Perfect. Okay, earlier in the day, I whipped a little bit out of this bed, cleaned it up just a little bit. There's still more to do, but the main thing I would like to get done tonight before I fully lose the light is to get some string for my trellising. So, wow, that's a really loud airplane. Okay, so as I was mentioning earlier, I've got a lot of this string. It's great for all kinds of trellising purposes, and I'm going to use it to give these cucumbers and squash and beans all a bit of a canopy that they can grow over. So, here we go. Give you just a quick closer look here. As you can see, just a little bit of rough string work. Should be enough to let these beans keep growing. And whatever else wants to grow over top of this, I pretty much guarantee you that strings will continue to be added to this. Okay, well this bed right here is a mess. Been producing a lot of tomatoes for me, but that's mostly it. There's a couple other plants in here that I'm gonna go ahead and take out at this point. The only thing that's not a tomato that I'm going to leave in here is the cantaloupe, which is running along the ground. So that's the cantaloupe. But there's some Swiss chard in here, and there's some basil, and all of that's gonna come out. I think it'll just make my tomatoes a little bit healthier, make it a little bit easier for me to prune around here too. So. There's a fine basil plant, but not really. It needs to be growing somewhere else. And I've got plenty of basil. Might dehydrate the good leaves on here and toss the rest of the compost. Now, let's grab this Swiss chard. And this I'm not saving because I've noticed that in the heat of summer that we've had, Swiss chard really just doesn't taste very good. So I grew plenty of it in the winter, but I think it will remain a winter, spring crop for me. I don't use a lot of pesticides. In fact, I don't use any pesticides in this garden. but there is, oh, there is, oh, ow. That scared me. Okay, what was I saying? Here's one of my pest control contraptions, and no, it doesn't snap that hard. It didn't actually hurt me. It just scared me. But I don't use any pesticides, and one of the downsides of that is that I do get a lot of pest damage. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. And this is not even a bad example. I mean, it's a bad example as in like the tomatoes gone, but I just get a lot of damage like this and worse on my tomatoes. And I thought that it was a mouse problem, and I think some of it was, but I also have slugs, I also have hornworms, anything that might eat a tomato while it's ripening, birds, I have them. And I know this might be blasphemous, but I pull them off right about here and let them ripen the rest of the way inside. It only takes a couple days, and I don't personally notice a difference in taste, but I do notice a difference on how many tomatoes make it inside, because as soon as they start blushing orange like this, they just become a target for all of my pests here. So I do grab any fully orange tomatoes that I see to let them ripen up inside. But generally what I do on these bushing style tomatoes, I let them get a little bit wild, so long as I can still pick them, prune them, however I feel fit. But at some point I do have to wrap a string around it and kind of make a big tomato cage. Still pretty chaotic, but it's enough to kind of lift any of these tomatoes that were literally growing on the ground are now up in the air, where they hopefully will not be as easy of a target, although these are on the outside, so they might still get nabbed by something else before I get them. A lot of pruning to be done on this. A lot of it will probably be done off camera because I am losing the light. I think I'm going to lose all my light here. But made some progress today. Now, what needs to get done in here, I have another wire shelf that needs to come in next to that other one. And I need to get this where I can walk through it, but always a work in progress. That sunflower is nuts. Easily the tallest sunflower I've grown. I don't know how the HOA hasn't gotten me yet.